Welcome to the continuing series of my assessment of a group of kilts that have been sent me. So once again, stand by for motion. So here we have kilt 2, and it was made for a rather large fellow indeed. Oh, who am I to talk? Yeah, we have a 48-49 waist. Cool. But looking at it, once again, it's the wonderful 22-ounce cloth, which I don't believe is even available anymore. Once again, it's all wrinkled to hell. Top band is fine. Both loops are in place. Straps, the right hip straps are somewhat stretched. The left-hand strap is, I want to replace it. It's all stretched out. And I remember the time that a certain supplier was supplying leather kilt straps that were just slightly too light, and this is what happened to them. I spent a lot of time doing basically warranty work, replacing straps with ones that I cut myself. So we want to replace that strap. It's got the modern single tongue buckles, and they're the very well made ones. From the same supplier that I buy my from. I don't, however, like the tabs that are holding the buckles onto the kilt because they appear to be made from the grosgrain material, which we more commonly see on the tails of a Glengarry bonnet, and they just offend my eye. I just want to do them over and do them properly. These two have evidently been moved at some point because the kilt was issued to somebody who was slightly less important, shall we say, because the buckles have been moved back. They looks like they originally mounted here. They've been moved back. I'd like to put them back to the original location. There's a pair of loops for the sporran strap, which I consider entirely unnecessary, and they're rather clumsily made and mounted at different heights, which I'm taking these things off and burning them. They offend my eye. What really gets my goat is that somebody decided that the way to make this kilt fit was to sew shut the buttonhole and then open a second buttonhole 2 pleats over. Unnecessary and very clumsily done. But so we'll have to have a discussion with the organization about, do they want me to, because I want to restore it to its original configuration and sew that shut. But to do that, I'm going to have to take this lining out, and who knows what I'm going to find inside, because typically these army kilts will have a single thin strip of canvas connecting the 2 buckles, which I don't consider absolutely best practice. And in any case, these buckle tabs are only sewn to the top layer of cloth, to the tartan. The only proper way to do it, and let me just reach right now for a kilt so I can show you. The only proper way to do it, the joke's on me, that one doesn't have a buckle on it. The only proper way to do it is to sew the buckle tabs through and through all of the layers of cloth, not the lining, mind you. So the proper way to repair these, again, make new tabs, unpick the lining, take a look at the canvas, decide if we want to upgrade the canvas, and that can be a separate video. But then properly sew the buckles on, and then properly reattach the lining. I can patch this. It's just disappointing to see. Yeah. Once again, clean and press. On the inside, fortunately, we don't have somebody who's a little too overcautious about the state of his and hasn't sewn anything in place and hasn't left any deposits, shall we say. So yeah, what I've said, buckles, strap, clean and press, and presumably, if we want to go that way, again, a couple of layers of elastic. Now, the interesting thing about this kilt is it's rather well made. I see some irregular pleating across the back, but that doesn't affect how it looks from the outside. But this isn't an army kilt at all. I'd mentioned in the previous video about Black Watch versus Argyle, but this one, I'm not sure if you can see it, but we have a pleat centered on the two thin black stripes, and then a pleat centered on blue, and then two stripes again. So it's stripe blue, all the way across the piece. Does it matter? It's up to you to decide. You could maybe build a regimental tradition around it. I don't know. I don't think it's worth getting rid of the kilt just for that minor error. Or not minor error. It's interesting. So I mean, somebody knew what they were doing, because it's aside from a sort of hiccup in the middle as they laid out the pleats, which I don't see elsewhere. I mean, it looks well enough. It's just got that non-regimental aspect. So that was number 2. Let's carry on right for number 3, just because I have the bit between my teeth. And then because it's Friday night and it's 6:15, I want to go have a beer. Yeah, here's number 3. Number 3 is an actual Argyle kilt. And we can tell that because front apron is centered on the black line on green, and the pleats are box pleat versus knife pleat. And let me know if you need me to explain the difference between a box pleat and a knife pleat. As you can see, the pleat has been folded over. See, like that. That's a box pleat. So this is an Argyle kilt, and I think it's quite a bit older. I think it could be as old as the Second World War. Certainly, 1947, 1949. We have the older style of the double buckles, but these are an earlier. These were made much earlier than that first kilt I showed you. They're a bit beaten up. They can be repaired. They're a bit beaten up. One is missing. Fortunately, I do have spares of these. The buckle tabs, the original ones, are here in that dark Holland cloth that I talked about, and that's why we've lost this buckle, because Holland is a lining and sort of a stiffening. Properly it's used as a tailor's canvas rather than something structural like this. So the Holland is given away, as they tend to do, and the buckle is lost. So yeah, I want to replace all 3 tabs. Frankly, these are the only 2 buckles that do the work. This thing, as I said, is an excrescence is possibly too strong a word, but not much. The straps, they're nearing the end of their service life. Modern leather tanning methods have changed in 80 years, and so I think these things should be retired and replaced. The front apron, the stitching is starting to go here. And when one is starting to go, often in my experience, it's evidence that maybe the rest of them are getting ready to go as well. One other thing is, I mentioned earlier about a buckle being mounted in the wrong place. This is a textbook case of that. You can you see the buttonhole? The buckle is far too close to it. It should be back, well, tabs coming apart even as I hold it. The buckle should be back about the width of one pleat, or a pinky width. This left-hand strap is absolutely toast. It has to be replaced. The lining's okay. I mean, it's a bit stained, but that happens. I think the lining's good. So yeah, the straps, refurbish the buckles, clean and press. That's pretty much all, and elastics if we want to go that route. So let's take a look. Oh, here we are, kilt number 1, 1957 pattern. That, I believe, is the change in patterns. Sometimes it was, and somebody's going to be able to tell us exactly the case, but I think part of it was the quality, not that one was a higher or lower quality, but a different quality of cloth, generally a somewhat finer, less scratchy cloth. But 1957 pattern, Argyle and Sutherland Highlanders, other ranks and pipers, size 26, Highs 5'11" to 6 feet. Waist 32. Let's see if... Okay, it was issued... It's got a date stamp of 1965. Thomas Gordon, which was a very reputable maker. What did we say? Waist 32? Let's find out. I'm going to call it a 33 myself, but there we go. Okay, that was kilt number 3. Let's just keep going, shall we? Kilt number 4. Again, an Argyle kilt. This is a more modern cloth. Let's take a look at the label. Kilt number 1A. There we go. Argyle and Sutherland Highlanders, other ranks. Length 22 inches. Waist 46. Thomas Gordon and Sons, again, reputable maker. But we can see, what was the date on that thing? I don't see a date on this, but I'm going to say this is much more recent. Obviously, not after the disbandment of the Argyles, but this is maybe 1960s, 1970s, I would think. The cloth is a little bit lighter. It's an 18 ounce and almost certainly made by either Cruachan or Dalgleish, because it's, again, I recognize the cloth. The buckles, it's only a 1-inch strap, and the buckles looks like the original mounting, again with Holland cloth, and they're starting to show their age. Frankly, I think it'd be a good idea to replace the tabs on the buckles. The buttonhole is in good shape. The straps, the leather's a little light, and frankly, I wonder if they're original because they're looking a bit amateurish. I'd maybe want to replace those. The usual clean and press. And once again, we have a strap mounted in what I consider to be less optimal. I want to replace it with a new strap and then mount the strap here. On the inside, the same good lining cloth, more cryptic waist measurements. Yeah, really nothing needs to be done on the inside at all. Now you see the great difference in height of these kilts. This is a much more modern cut, shall I say, in that the kilt isn't going all the way up to the soldier's armpits. And there was a historical reason for that, which I've mentioned elsewhere, and I'll repeat if you really want to hear it. I think this... I'm not happy. Yeah, I want to replace those. So that's number 4. Very little to be done, really. I mean, a good few hours, but it's not a huge amount of work. Here is kilt number 5, and again, it's a black watch kilt. Very heavy cloth, so I'm going to say this is, well, we have a label, but it's absolutely, literally threadbare. But I'm going to say this is no newer than 1947. Could well be earlier. And it's made for an ample figure, shall we say. It's got the earlier style double-pronged buckles of brass that have been, the trade term was japanned. It was lacquer, because I believe that, I'm not sure if it's the case, whether the Japanese invented the lacquering process or it was believed that they had invented lacquering. This is known as a japanned finish. The buckles are in place. The Holland tab is starting to wear out on this one. It's been replaced on this with looks like some sort of industrial belting, and I don't like the look of that at all. I want to replace that just because, I mean, it's serviceable. It'll last for years, but okay, maybe I'm being too picky, but yeah, okay. We are, however, seeing, okay, there's a bit of, well, the buttonholes, it needs a bit of reinforcing. So it's gaping, as you can see. It needs a little help. I want to put in a couple of bar tacks right there just to strengthen that, because this is sort of a potential weak point, as I've shown elsewhere. The pleats are starting to go. There's one. That one's been repaired, but rather poorly. I want to redo that one. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pardon me. I'm going to sneeze. 6. These pleats are going to have to be done over because they're starting to pull. There's a bit of damage here, and I'm not going to grab at it until I can really see what it is. It seems might be just threads. It looks like somebody sewed something on there, and that makes no sense at all. Fortunately, there's absolutely no sign of mothing, whatever. So once again, the work that I mentioned, the clean and a press. The inside's fine. I mean, the lining, no, the lining's not coming away. So there we are, really relatively little to do with that one. Yeah, cool. Okay, last one, number 6, still in the box. This looks quite modern. It is, once again, an Argyle kilt in that, once again, pleated to the black on green with a box pleat rather than a knife pleat. I'm going to pull up that black watch kilt and show you. Yeah, you see, this is just a simple fold. This has been folded and then folded back, making it a box pleat. This cloth is, again, it's a lighter. There was one other kilt here that had this 18 ounce. The rest of them are 22 ounce. 18 ounce is really the standard these days. And it's beautiful cloth. It has a proper quilting selvage. The strap's in the right place. It's looking a bit hard done by, a little bit beat up, but I think it's okay. I want to replace these tabs because they're wearing out. And here we have, I remember I mentioned earlier about what happens when we put the strap through and then yank on it to curtail our guts. In the other kilt, the buttonhole had eroded because of that. This seam has blown right out because of that. So we're seeing underneath, we're seeing the what I consider the inadequate canvassing. So, and also this buckle's a little too far forward, so that might have contributed to this. So that one has to be resewn. It looks like these they're all sewn by hand, but it looks like they've been gone over once, that I wonder if another person, another kilt maker, has sewn these over top of the original stitching just to reinforce it rather than unpick the stitching and then redo the seam again. They've sewn over the original stitching, and it makes it a little more prominent, but it's actually a really good job. I certainly wouldn't fault it. Somebody has put a piece of tape right there, and the gummy residue is left behind. We'll see if a judicious application of a bit of solvent and then a press might solve that. So yeah, new straps, new buckle tabs, repair the blown out seam. The top band is fine. A clean and a press. And some stains on the inside, which are in an atypical location because it's on the outside apron. This is a bit odd. I've never seen something like that before. It's no biggie, but somebody was in a hurry. And Thomas Gordon, of course, I've known they've been around for yonks, but I've never seen a label like that before. So usually they're quite a plain label. So, cool. So there we are. There's the 6 kilts. There's what has to be done. And if I get the go-ahead, I will record the proceedings so that your own people can learn how to do this for themselves. Because I'm hoping, because again, when I started off, most regiments had a master stitch with as many soldier apprentices as he was prepared to put up with. And they kept it going, they kept it in-house, and they kept it affordable. That system was dropped somewhere along the line, and I don't think that was a good idea. So if I can encourage your own people to do this and do it right, because we saw some real train accidents there, we'll all be ahead. So there we go. There's my appraisal of the 6 kilts. I will communicate my quote to you privately, and we'll carry on from there. So carry on. Happy Friday. I think it's beer o'clock myself. Right, and motion sickness alert.